there's a video I watched. It got me so mad. I just I just needed to punch something. Well, I am gonna still continue this video. The video that I was watching on my computer, I'm going to have to continue. I just hope that anger does. I just hope that anger doesn't. That anger that I felt watching the video doesn't come back again. Otherwise, I might just start putting holes in the walls. Looks like I'm going back to the short quilt Sonic hue.
Message to him saying that it was Eggman's doing. Once Sonic received the location, he headed over to the lab and was actually kicking butt for a minute until one of the scientists hit a switch that electrocuted all the Childs. And not wanting to see them suffer, Sonic stopped fighting. But in order to really make their point, the scientist also shot one of the Child.
Hold it in. 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 It's not working. I repeat, it's not working. Mm. Mm. I want.
Ensure that Sonic understood what was at stake here. With Sonic being partially controlled, they ended up doing a bunch of experiments on him, but before that, they injured his Achilles tendons so that he couldn't run away anymore. And based on this panel right here, it looks like they just took one of these little scalpels and just cut his Achilles. But even with those injuries, he still had the strength to try and escape. But before he could actually make it, the doctors caught him and took out another child, making sure that Sonic got back in line. And this is where the real torture started. But as you would expect, Sonic still fought back, even almost taking out one of the doctor's eye with his quills, which caused them to remove them all one at a time. And just to put this into perspective, even when hedgehogs lose their quills naturally by shedding, it can still be a little bit painful for them. So having them forcibly ripped out one by one would have to be some real agony. The only good news here is that hedgehogs do regrow their quills, but it usually takes a little bit of time. Now, after they dequill Sonic, they continue to experiment on him even more. But it seems like they pushed him too far, which is why we have this scene of him just crashing out and taking the lives of every scientist in that building. In the final scene, we get to see Sonic in Vanilla's home, and she has cleaned and bandaged his back. And while he still looks a bit sad, I'm happy to see that he's in good hands for the moment. In the next chapter, we see Sonic thanking Vanilla for cleaning him up, but Vector notices that Sonic is still shivering, showing that it wasn't just the chill outside that was actually making him shake. And while Vector doesn't know what happened to Sonic, I think at this point, he realizes that he may have like some form of PTSD. Now, this next part was really heartwarming to me. We see Vanilla trying to get Sonic to eat something, but he doesn't really have an appetite, and even flinches away from Vanilla when she tries to touch his hair. But then there's a knock on the door, and we see Cream come into the room holding a plate of cookies. When she offers a cookie to Sonic, I thought that he was going to flip out based on the look in his eyes here. But seeing Cream seems to actually wake him up. And not only does he take a cookie, but he has like a semi-normal conversation with her. I noticed that he was the same way with Charmy as well, showing that maybe the children are the people that he needs around him to kind of help him heal from his ordeal.
So he's saying we need to bring Sonic to a daycare.
But just when things start looking up, we see Cheese enter the room with some milk.
Ooh.
And the sight of another child brings up memories of what Sonic actually went through in the lab, causing him to spiral for a moment. And seeing that Sonic was kind of freaking out, Victor gets Charmy out of the room just in case something bad happens. And while Sonic tries to tell Vanilla that he's okay, considering that she's known him since he was a child, she can tell that he's lying. And in the next scene, we can see that she allows Sonic to break down for a moment in her arms, finally being able to let out some of the pain that he feels.
Yeah, a kid does not know what birth is, so he probably.
The final chapter of the series starts with Amy out looking for Sonic. We can tell by the map here that she has been searching for a while and has had no luck. And I'm assuming that this is why she
I think she accidentally split her lip with that bite.
looks so disheartened here. Eventually, she gives up and heads over to Vanilla's house, which, as we see here, is still full of people. Now, when Amy pulls up, Vector and Vanilla seem to be surprised because Amy wasn't supposed to arrive until the next day. And with Sonic in the home, they're not sure how he will react to seeing her. Now, when Vector opens the door, we get this image, which is way too
Holy
ominous
shit.
for this moment. And then we really get to see Amy's face. And Vector can tell that she's been going through it. So he invites her in. And while Vanilla is trying to be a good host, maybe feed Amy and all this stuff, there's so much chaos going on in the home that they don't even notice when Amy starts to head towards Sonic's room. Just like with Tails, he doesn't want her to see him, and he keeps saying no over and over again. Now, when Amy does finally enter the room, at first she doesn't recognize Sonic under the blanket, and she freaks out just a little bit, slamming her hand into the light here. But once the room is lit up and she can actually see that it's Sonic, she immediately runs over to him. Or at least she tries to, until he tells her not to look at him. After that, we get this little montage that showcases how Amy has always thought that Sonic was handsome and a hero. And then we see this image of him falling and Amy running to catch him. Then she tells him that whatever he's hiding doesn't matter to her, because no matter what, Sonic will always be the most handsome hedgehog to her. And
Twins. Wait.
hearing this,
Wait, hold on. How does Sonic have a bigger chest than a woman?
to really affect Sonic, because not only does he place a kiss on Amy's forehead, but he also allows her to embrace him, and even seems to be able to enjoy it after a moment. The final panels that we get to see in the comics is Vanilla coming to check on the two and seeing that Sonic and Amy are cuddled up here. Sonic finally looking to be at peace and able to get some real sleep. And while I don't think enough time has passed for him to get over what he went through, I can definitely say that by the end of this AU, he seems to be on the road to recovery. All in all, I was really impressed with this story and the artwork. I was skeptical at first about Sonic getting captured until I saw the way the scientists actually set it up. Sonic would definitely sacrifice himself for the safety of others, especially if he wasn't sure that he could disarm the threat without taking any lives. I also really like the fact that Eggman played a big role in this AU. The fact that he basically hid those bodies and covered that whole thing up so that Sonic wouldn't realize what he did is kind of a huge thing, but it doesn't really surprise me because Eggman does really come through sometime in these AUs, whether it be canon AUs like the Metal Virus or ones like this. I also want to point out too that the voice acting really brought this to life. So I just want to give a shout out again to Sano and also the Voice Crack VA crew. I think they also helped a lot with this as well. Make sure to also go over and support Sleepy Trademark on Twitter. Check out this video on the screen here next, and we'll see you next time with another video. Peace. So I was on my...
Oh my god. I'm looking at this comment and I can't tell if I should laugh or an AU where Vanilla, Eggman, and Tails all survive. Gotta watch out for flying pigs tomorrow. Yeah, I kind of get it because like in the Metal Virus, actual canon infection AU. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that in most of these infection AUs and stuff like that, Vanilla and children are the main ones that die. It Tails too, but not as much as them, in my opinion.
A bunch of you have been asking me to cover the Metal Virus Sonic the Hedgehog IDW comics. And while I understood the gist of what happened, I finally viewed the complete saga on the Adrenaline Dubs YouTube channel, and the series is fantastic, although I will admit that the voice acting definitely helped with that. Now, as the name suggests, the metal virus was a virus that was created by Dr. Eggman, and it would turn any living life form into a robot. So that means both plants, animals, and even people were at risk. But let me go ahead and start from the beginning so that you'll understand how this came to be in the first place. Now, the Metal Virus series starts with Sonic resting on the water, taking a much-needed break because he and his group just recently defeated Neo Metal Sonic. And that
And Wally's talking to that Flicky about when he tells people to slow down, you know something's wrong. Tails appears out of nowhere saying he thinks something's wrong.
For the people who may not have seen the fight, the Metal Sonic was giving Sonic and Knuckles crazy work until Shadow showed up here.
Yeah, Neo went super and beat the brakes off of them. Shadow had to shove a Chaos Spear in his chest compartment, and it knocked him out of his super form. And then he started laying hands on him.
Sonic Universe, Sonic doesn't get to enjoy this vacation for very long.
But that you know the limitation that Neo had. He needed all the life form data of Sonic and his friends to go Neo. But here, Eggman made Metal Sonic into Neo and removed that block and rebellious stuff from his coding. And so all he needed was Sonic and Shadow's biodata and the Master Emerald, which he turned into a literal battery.
Because we see that Tails shows up and shows him an invitation from the world's best doctor, which of course is actually just Eggman. But at this point in the series, Sonic thinks that Eggman is still Mr. Tinker, which is the persona.
Did he say Kinker or Tinker? You will sit in the face by a radioactive